Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful tri-state area. Happy New Year and welcome to the best of 2024. We're 1 month in and I am so excited to be sharing our 148th episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with us on social media. Truly, it makes it all worthwhile. Please make sure to continue to follow us at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And all episodes of A Moment of Zen streamed 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. And of course, you can always find us on our YouTube channel. In our newest monthly segment, The Rankin Difference, brought to you by David Rankin MD.com, we're featuring the many female voices, bodies, and stories affected by breast implant illness. From your favorite celebrities, influencers, to your beloved stay-at-home mamas, we're going to be bringing you stories of truth, triumph, and survival. Today, we're chatting breast implant illness, my personal explant journey with the good doctor, and the warning signs and symptoms your breasts are secretly revealing. In our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're featuring Dr. Brian Biesman. He specializes in cosmetic and reconstructive eyelid and facial surgery and minimally invasive rejuvenation techniques that include injectables and technology-based solutions like lasers. He's founder of drbiesman.com and serves as a clinical assistant professor at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee, Division of Ophthalmology, Dermatology, and Otolaryngology. Today, he joins me to chat latest trends in facial and eyelid surgeries, how carboxytherapy is revolutionizing the skincare industry, and how you can even get a home medical grade skincare treatment without breaking the bank. In our Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align, today we're joined by our newest contributor, podcaster, and author, Dan Gilman, joined by Kirk Thatcher. Kirk, he's an award-winning writer, producer, director, as well as creature maker and character designer. Interestingly enough, he began his career at age 19, creating and puppeteering creatures for blockbusters such as Return of the Jedi, Star Trek 3 and 2, Poltergeist, Gremlins, E.T., and so much more. They join me today to chat career, Hollywood, and plans for 2024. In the Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring Ben Greenfield, health consultant, speaker, and author, Zoltan Bathory, musician and martial artist, and Ian Wendt, founder of Official Patriot Gear. We're chatting all about the benefits of coconut water, why Once Upon a Coconut brand has taken off so fast, and the importance of giving back. Make sure to stay tuned for our next interview with Kirk Thatcher, joined by Dan Gilman in Discover Your Potential segment, chatting career, Hollywood, puppeteering, and creature creation. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by Body Align. Are you ready for a long winter's nap? Over 183 million adults have trouble sleeping at least once a week. That's why Body Align designed a wearable patch that helps you fall asleep faster, wake up feeling refreshed, and comes with a money-back guarantee. Try the Sweet Dreams patch today and get a buy one, get one free pack with the promo code DYP. Visit bodyalign.com and enter DYP at checkout because discovering your potential starts with a great night's sleep. That's bodyalign.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align, we're joined by our newest contributor, podcaster, and author, Dan Gilman. He's joined by Kirk Thatcher, Emmy award-winning writer, producer, director, as well as creature maker and character designer. He began at age 19 creating and puppeteering creatures for blockbusters such as Return of the Jedi, Star Trek 2 and 3, E.T., Poltergeist, and Gremlins. He went on to write, produce, and direct various Muppet films, commercials, and even web series. Most recently, he portrayed the maniacal monster hunter Jovan in the Marvel television special Werewolf by Night, and he's currently directing 6 episodes on the Nickelodeon animated comedy action series Max and the Midnights, to be released this fall. They're here today to chat about storytelling, creature design, and establishing a creative legacy. We're going to be chatting careers, Hollywood, and plans for 2024. Welcoming now to the show are Dan Gilman and Kirk Thatcher. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you,
you very
Nice
much.
to meet you.
All right. Kirk, you've had quite the career spanning all the way back to when you were just 10 years old, making films all involving creatures, spaceships, or broad comedy. Self-taught, of course, in the craft of creature effects. And at 19, you went on to work at Industrial Light and Magic, basically creating creatures for many well-known and iconic films. Cut to today, you're doing it all. You're an expert creature maker, writer, producer, director, actor. I know Dan is eager to ask you questions. So Dan, take it away.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You're a legend and my personal hero, and it's a dream come true to talk to you. But Kirk, looking back at your childhood, were there specific moments or influences that sparked your passion for creature design and filmmaking?
Yeah, I would say the movie King Kong, Ray Harryhausen films, particularly Jason and the Argonauts, which all I saw on television. I was a 60s kid, so watching TV was the babysitter. So I got to see all these great older sci-fi fantasy films. I think those two, again, King Kong and Jason the Argonauts that Ray Harryhausen did, really kind of sparked my love for filmmaking and creatures. And I just drew all the time. I was really creative. I started out kind of a very nerdy kid. I read a lot of science encyclopedias. My folks got a set of encyclopedias, and I just read. I was fascinated by the world. You know, you're a kid and you're just learning about everything. And my mom was concerned that I would turn into a complete science nerd, so she thought she could introduce me, because I didn't read fiction. I just read, all factual stuff, nonfiction. So she turned me on to science fiction, and then I was hooked into that. And then Star Trek started airing when I was like 4. I didn't really get into it till a little later, until I was about 8 or 9. But so all those things just were around, and growing up in LA, you knew that working in the film and television business was an actual possibility. It was a career that was available to people. And my next door neighbors, my best friends, their dad was a composer, and he had his own post-production studio. So I kind of grew up around it. No one in my family was in it, but I knew it was available. So that made it interesting and exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting because creature effects, if you think of it, are one of the most popular forms of practical effects, right? Because they're made from a variety of materials. And when you think of creature effects, they've been around since the birth of cinema in classic films like Frankenstein and Dracula. And we all know the movies wouldn't be complete without these creatures, whether it's Godzilla or Grover.
Yes.
Not to shift gears, but how does effective creature design contribute to the art of storytelling in film and television?
How does the art of effective creature design? Well, it all comes down. I mean, learned early on, it comes down to human psychology. Um, Frankenstein is a different kind of creature than Godzilla, but they both sort of have pathos. They're both misunderstood. And then you get to the Muppets, who are kind of a band of outcasts. And I think it comes down to a relatable, what humans relate or don't relate to. And I think the alien, the xenomorph from the movie Aliens, had no
Mm.
face, just teeth and a tongue that had teeth. And that plays on our fears of, like, something without a face is terrifying to us because you don't know where it's looking. It makes you feel more like a prey than a predator. And in the movie Predator, this kind of scorpion face thing, I think it's effective if you start with human nature and human psychology and what triggers our feelings of terror or passion or laughter.
Evoking emotion. It's all about
Yeah.
evoking emotion. And interestingly enough, while filmmaking technology has significantly advanced and continues to improve, bringing creatures to life on screen is still no easy feat, because a poorly designed creature can be distracting and take the audience out of the immersive world the filmmakers have worked so hard to create. And simply put, a creature's design and execution can make or break a film. I always say that.
Absolutely. I think what happened with computer graphics, which are amazing and a great tool in the toolbox, is they found you could kind of do anything. And so creatures got a little more detailed and extravagant and sort of lost their focus. I think one of the things that's so successful about the Muppets is that they're very distilled, like, they're very simple shapes and colors. And not only kids, but they read quickly, I think is what you would say. And one of the things I found as a creature designer is you want that impression. Is it scary? Is it horrifying? You need to have it read quickly. And again, that comes down to eye shape and eye placement and eye size and where the mouth is, how the mouth moves, all that stuff comes into play. And that's kind of the fun of it, is you get to be your own Dr. Frankenstein and or your own kind of biologist and create something that looks real, has a verisimilitude that you believe that, oh, I believe that came out of the water, or I believe that came from space, or grew on a tree.
Can you also discuss a project where you felt you were breaking new ground, or in special effects or creature design?
Sure. I mean, I think well, Gremlins, where I was, I was design paint jobs and eyes and things. I think that was new to have that many creatures. Gremlins 1, and then Gremlins 2, where I did some puppeteering and a lot of voice work. That was just such a range of what a gremlin could be. Dinosaurs was the big one for me, where we took the technology that the Henson Company had done with the Ninja Turtle movies and turned it into a 5-day-a-week shooting TV series. So the Creature Shop had really kind of perfected the mechanical face movement and moving all that rubber around, and because in the movies if something breaks down, they're made like a Tiffany piece, like it's a one-off for that movie. With the TV series, no way, that went for 4 years, 65 episodes. Those things had to be, it was more like a factory, shooting, and you couldn't have a character go, oh, his face tore, we'll start back tomorrow. No, it had to be repaired. You had to have extra skins, extra motors. So
And you have to have a vision, right? Because as
well,
far
sure.
as technology and the craft of creature effects has come, it all still comes down to a good idea. And you can't create a creature without a vision. And one of the worst things that can happen to a filmmaker or artist is dealing with creative blocks. And a creative block is just that period of time in an artist or designer's life where they experience difficulty generating fresh ideas, because there's so many ways to get to the end result, right? So there's a lot of blocks that could come between the beginning and the end. And so there are so many ways, I always say, to overcome creative blocks, such as stepping away from your work, reflecting on past projects, or even trying something new. Just getting more sleep could be the answer, but inspiration can strike at any moment. I know that Dan, has a next question that pertains specifically to this, but Dan, take it away.
Yeah, no, where do you currently find inspiration for your designs, especially has that changed over the years?
Uh, I mean, again, nature is such a great resource. There's so much stuff online. I mean, when I was a kid, you had books and you go to the library. Now you just Google anything, and there's science channels and channels just all about nature. And I mean, there's new insects and new lizards and reptiles and amphibians being discovered. So that's probably my initial source. And then the other time is in the shower, where you just got that warm water and you kind of drift off, and a lot of it is hybridizing. Like, oh, what if I had a creature that was amphibious, but instead of being like a frog with wet kind of slimy skin, what if it was furry, more like a nutria or an otter? Not that that's particularly clever, but maybe it's more of a scary. The otters are cute, but what if they were terrifying? I don't know. You just kind of riff. It's riffing is what you call it in a writer's room. As a designer, it's the same thing. You just input.
Inputs,
And
yeah.
the internet is such a great resource for just finding imagery.
I couldn't agree more. Now, you've worked on several serious films. You seem to have found your niche, though, in comedy,
Yeah.
specifically the Muppets. So you work with the Muppets, and you've worked with them. That dates back notably decades. So with Muppet Treasure Island, even winning you an Emmy for Muppets Tonight. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Muppets themselves date back to 1955, and since then there has been a wide variety of films, TV shows, commercials, and web series created featuring the characters. So long story short, everyone knows the Muppets, and you seem to have found yourself closely aligned with them. In fact, with one of your most recent projects being Muppets Haunted Mansion, right?
Yeah. Well, that came from, again, I met Jim Henson about 86, and we started working together initially as designer and like a concept guy. where Jim, what I love, one of the things, I mean, I loved a lot of things about Jim, but one of the things I really appreciated was he would hire an artist as an idea person as opposed to a writer. Not that there's anything wrong with hiring writers, but he was a very visual thinker, as am I. And so you would sort of have a meeting with him, and then you just go off and do sketches and then come, and the sketch could be an idea for a whole story, or it could just be for a character. And he really responded well to that. And so that was where the riffing would start. And he would, and he had a very gentle touch. And he was incredibly collaborative. And that's one of the things I learned from him and so enjoyed working with him, is he would be, oh, that's interesting. I can always I always jump into Jim's voice when I think about it. But he wouldn't get real excited. He would just be like, that's neat. He had certain keywords that he was neat, or that's fun, or lovely. Those are the three if you like something. But he never said that's wrong or that's bad. He'd go like, no, I don't know if that's as successful as this design. So he was such a great collaborator and so fun to riff with. And he liked to laugh. He had a great sense of whimsy. So it was an amazing experience working with him. And it was, I don't know, it was one of the best times of my life, was being able to co-create with him.
So that leads into my next question, actually. Thank you. What was it like working on the Muppet Haunted Mansion, particularly in blending humor with kind of a spooky atmosphere?
Yes. I'd wanted to do a Halloween thing. Halloween's the second largest holiday in the United States. I'd wanted to do a Halloween thing with the Muppets since 1990, since I started writing on dinosaurs and writing with the Muppets. And so it came from essentially the Muppets have been handed to different divisions at Disney since they bought them in 2004. And about 5 or 6 years ago, Imagineering took over, or people at Imagineering. And so when they took over, I said, hey, Muppets started as monsters on Sesame Street, and Halloween's this huge holiday. How can we do something with Muppet Monsters or Muppets in Halloween? And so they came back a couple of years later and said, I'd been working with them on something called Muppets Now, which is a web series or a Disney Plus series. And they said, what about the Haunted Mansion? Could you do something with that? And I was like, could I do something with the Muppets and the Haunted? I was a huge, again, growing up in LA, Disneyland was in the backyard, and huge fan of the Haunted Mansion. So I just jumped at the chance. And it was funny because I was such a Mansion fan when, we sat down and went, okay, what's the story? I said, well, the story is the ride. There is a story there. Mm-hmm. And, we kind of came up with the excuse for why Pepe and Gonzo would be there. But we just had so much fun with ghosts and creatures and so many things that the Muppets sort of imbue are a part of their lexicon, monsters and funny creatures. And that's kind of what the Haunted Mansion is. It's not really a scare ride. It's more like a fun ride. So I thought it was a great marriage of the two, and had a blast writing and directing it, along with, co-wrote it with Bill Beretta and Kelly Younger, and then Jim Lewis on story, helped with the story, and then directing it. So that was kind of, for me, the distillation and the great kind of high point after years and years of working, doing creatures and Muppets and comedy. It kind of all came together in that. So I'm really proud of that film, and it was a lot of fun to do.
You are not just good at what you do, but you are quite the creator, and everyone is a creator in some way, but not everyone makes a career out of it like you have. And I always stress, the life of a creative is certainly not for everyone. It has its hardships, just like any other path in life. But what is special about filmmakers is that your creativity feeds the souls of others. It's an incredibly rewarding path. And in fact, 6 in 10 people felt that being creative is valuable to their country's economy. That's 7 in 10 in the US. And when CEOs were asked, what is the skill you most value in your people? They said creativity, the ability to solve problems, come up with new solutions, and use brain power to figure things out. And about 60%, in fact, of CEOs polled cited creativity as the most important leadership quality, compared with 52% for integrity and 35% for global thinking. So you are onto something, my friend.
Looking at your extensive portfolio from Gremlins to Muppet Haunted Mansion, what do you hope your creative legacy will be?
I don't know that people enjoy it. It's funny. I don't think of a legacy when you're doing the work. At least I know other people do. I never consider what legacy. I'm just sort of fascinated and really focused on what am I making now, and how do I make it better, and how do I make it fun. I guess, standing back and looking at it, I guess I would love my legacy to be, he brought some joy and laughs to the world, and had fun doing it. I think one of the things I always say is at least when we're doing Muppet stuff or pretty much anything I work on, if we're not having a good time, we're doing it wrong. And then I got that from Jim Henson, in some degree from Leonard Nimoy. I
Well,
find.
it's clear that you've been doing this for such a long time, and you've certainly made a name for yourself, dreaming the dream, pursuing the dream, and achieving the dream. So, congratulations on all your success. We're almost out of time officially. Officially, Dan, any more questions?
I have just one more question. Well, I've got a lot of questions, but I have one more question right now. What advice would you give to aspiring creatives who dream of working on diverse projects like yours, from creatures, features to family friendly puppet shows?
I get asked that a lot. What advice do I give? I said, well, learn how to play well with others. You have to have an ego to think your ideas are worth sharing, but you also have to know that you have to collaborate. The business of creating, unless you're going to sit and paint or write on your own, but if you're going to turn it into a film or a television thing, you're going to have to collaborate. So enjoy that process. Don't fight it. Um, I would also say kind of what we are just talking about. Know the big picture, so you can focus on the details that are important in the smaller detail in the smaller picture, or the focus on the smaller points. And if you're not having fun, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
said. Well said. Thank you so much for coming on. You are incredible to chat with, and your insights are priceless. Dan, thank you so much for bringing on such an incredible guest.
Thank you.
Thank you
That
guys.
that was our Discover Your Potential segment, and boy, did we discover a lot of potential in this segment. That was brought to you by Bodyline. That was our regular contributor, Dan Gilman, joined by the awesome Kirk Thatcher. You could head directly to discoveryourpotentialshow.com, or you could check out Kirk on the gram at Kirk Thatcher, or head directly to his website at kirkthatcher.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Do you have the dream of starting and owning your own business, or know of someone who does? If so, check out Your Home Business program, where they inspire, equip, and encourage those who dream of owning and operating their own business. Check out Your Home Business on yourhometv.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few minutes in our newest monthly segment, The Rankin Difference, brought to you by David Rankin MD.com. We're going to be featuring the many female voices, bodies, and stories affected by breast implant illness. From your favorite celebrities, influencers, and VIPs to your beloved stay-at-home mamas, we're going to bring you stories of truth, triumph, and survival. Joined by our expert and recurring contributor, Dr. David Rankin. He is a top breast explant expert in the U.S. and the chief of plastic surgery at St. Mary's Medical Center in West Palm Beach, Florida. Dr. Rankin has been in practice for over 20 years, and he's well known in the breast implant illness community. It's ever expanding, and it's because more and more women are affected by their breast implants. Now, Dr. Rankin stopped implanting and solely focuses on explant procedures. Breast implant illness, what they call BII, is a condition that isn't well understood, but that can be extremely debilitating. And I could personally vouch for that. BII refers to a wide range of inexplicable symptoms that can't really be defined by the medical community. They develop in women who have reconstruction or cosmetic enlargement with breast implants. BII isn't an official medical diagnosis because it's just still not well understood. Now, experts believe BII symptoms are caused by an autoimmune or inflammatory reaction to the actual implants, and the symptoms vary from person to person and can include fatigue, joint pain, memory and concentration problems, and just so much more. Today, we're chatting breast implant illness, my explant journey with the good doctor, and the warning signs and symptoms your breasts are secretly revealing. Welcoming now to the show is Dr. David Rankin. Welcome, superstar.
Hi, thank you, Zen. Thank you so much for having me back.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into this. BII can affect people with any type of breast implant, including silicone gel filled, saline filled, smooth surface, textured surface, round or teardrop shaped.
It can develop whether implants have ruptured or even stayed intact. Are there any specific types of breast implants that are associated with a higher risk of breast implant illness?
In my practice, I see more women with silicone gel implants affected than saline. However, with that being said, I have a lot of patients with saline implants that I remove implants and they do well as well. Textured seems to be a little bit more inflammatory than the smooth implants. We're still trying to get a handle on statistics as far as how many percentages of women are affected based on the type of implants that they have.
Yeah, that's a hard feat because there's just so much information out there and so many women that just don't have a voice to actually record their ailments as a result of these implants. But it's important to note that breast implant illness is not the same as the rare types of cancer that can develop in the scar tissue and fluid surrounding a breast implant. Such cancers include, breast implant associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma, what we now know as BIA, ALCL, and other forms of lymphoma, and of course, breast implant associated squamous cell carcinoma, which is a little bit more serious, BIA, SCC. So, worthy to point out that breast implant illness can aggravate cells that are predisposed to cancer. And that is what we're really talking about and exposing, because most of the medical community is not associating these symptoms to anything aggressive. But you have been at the forefront and at the battle, helping women reclaim their lives, at the forefront of breast implant illness. Now, what is the most common discovery in extracting the implants, and what is the condition of the implants structurally?
Well, all implants currently on the market are made of a silicone outer shell. The salines have saline fluid inside. The silicone have a silicone gel. During my experience in explanting, I've taken out implants that are ruptured, implants that are contracted, which means the scar tissue around them squeezes on the implant. And a lot of implants that I take out are fully intact and look normal. So I see a little bit of everything in my practice.
Now, there are a number of problems associated with mold toxicity, right? We're going to talk about migraine, headaches, elevated blood pressure, chronic recurrent infections, muscle aches and pains, severe fatigue, chronic coughing, sneezing, wheezing, shortness of breath. I mean, it's not a pretty list. Even asthma symptoms and anxiety and depression and thyroid hormone suppression. I mean, gastrointestinal bloating. I could go on and on from what I read. Now, that is what mold toxicity in capsules. Now, I recently explanted with you, and prior to my surgery, you requested a pre op authorization from my PCP. Now, in gathering my medical clearance, I discovered that my morning blood pressure readings were extremely high, and strangely enough, I had personally been experiencing night sweats for the 9 months prior to explanting. And after 89 primary tests and 67 secondary tests and MRIs with and without contrast, followed by an abdominal ultrasound, every single time I was sent home with no explanation. In fact, they said, "You're fine. You have nothing to worry about. Get lighter bed sheets for the night sweats and understand that your work is high pressure." Now, cut two. Doing my research, mold can present as colorless or white, gray, brown, black, yellow, green, or fluorescent hue, right? Mold is mold. It comes in all different colors. But as mold grows, it often uh, and it often exudes a musty odor that results from volatile organic compound vapors that are released. Now, when you took out my implants, what did you discover?
Well, in your case and in most of my patients, the implants do look normal. In your situation, you did have a leak. You must have had a leak because your saline in your implant was about half as much as I normally see. So at some point, either the valve had some problem and opened up and expressed fluid. Sometimes I will see an actual slow pinpoint leak, which I didn't see in your case, but somehow some of the fluid escaped from your implant.
Now, it's interesting because most implants are guaranteed for a certain number of years, and women are told that, you don't have anything to worry about. But as these cases arise and as you see more women come in with complaints, what is the typical lifespan, whether it's saline or silicone, that you see women coming with complaints in for those implants?
It's different per patient. There's no real number. Some patients have problems either with the implant or with medical issues pretty right away. Other women, they'll have implants for 15, 20 years and then present with some problems. I think one of the most important things that we do with this education is telling women this is a possibility to think about when they're having symptoms of unknown etiology, and this could possibly be the cause. I think that's really, really important to explain to your viewers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Even my cardiologist, when I was undergoing the omission process of what my symptoms were related to when I had night sweats and when I would wake up with high morning blood pressure, he didn't have the medical capacity nor experience to help me even look that perhaps it could be my breast implants, right? And so now, obviously, knowing what he knows and knowing what I know, he's been awakened to a whole area of the medical community that has been perhaps not even properly um, communicated to most of the surgeons and specialists that are out there, not just implanting women, but that are also educating women on what their process will be after implant surgery, and when they'll need to explant again if not. Now, I've conducted with you personally over 2 dozen interviews on breast implant illness patients, and they've all stated that symptoms can appear anytime after implant surgery. Some said they started to develop breast implant illness symptoms immediately, while some developed them many years later. But interestingly, a lot of the symptoms of BII are associated, and this was not my case, with autoimmune and connective tissue disorders such as lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and scleroderma. Now, what are the current diagnostic criteria for BII, and how is it actually diagnosed in general?
Well, unfortunately, there's no test, there's no blood work, there's no radiological study or something, anything like that that we can do to say you have breast implant illness. It's really a diagnosis of exclusion. When somebody's having medical issues, they should go to their primary physician. They should do their due diligence and take the normal test and basically rule out other causes. When these causes are ruled out and the patient is still having problems, having an explant is a leap of faith. It's not something we can pinpoint. We don't know the direct pathophysiology or the absolute causes. So many of my patients that explant are doing it because they've ruled out all other causes of their problems and are still having significant problems with their health.
And when you look at the statistics, it's quite interesting because it's more than 365,000 women who have received breast implants in 2021, almost it's a 44% increase from the year before. And breast augmentation actually still remains one of the most common and popular plastic surgery procedures performed in the US. And it has a low risk of complications as per the FDA, or so they say, right? So it's important to really spread awareness. And I'm so glad that you do the work that you do and solely focus on explanting. Now, I never suspected I was combating breast implant illness. Um, what do you say to that?
In your situation, you really didn't know until you explanted, and the changes in your health were a huge benefit to you. So I think that you realize these things after explanting.
I did. And it wasn't just months or weeks, it was immediately the very next day. The very next day, I woke up and I had no high blood pressure. And the weeks after the surgery, my night sweats disappeared. And I thought that those night sweats were associated to me, knocking 40's door down. But, but although research is underway to figure out, the exact cause of breast implant illness, it's not currently an official diagnosis. In fact, BII is a cluster of symptoms that don't fit into any other classic disease diagnosis. And eventually, I'm hoping it will be recognized as a medical condition, but that process is going to take time. Now, in the meantime, insurance companies, they don't cover the explant costs. So, what steps does the medical community need to take to push insurance carriers to cover the explant surgeries?
Well, insurance companies, it's very difficult to get a new diagnosis or get them to cover things. I think just advocacy from plastic surgeons and from patients too. Some of my patients have submitted their operative reports and some of the surgical codes on their own behalf post-operatively, and some of them have gotten reimbursement. So we encourage them to try and do that in certain situations, but more often than not, they're unsuccessful. I think just continually pushing at the industry to let them know that there's so many women out there that need this coverage is a very important thing to do.
And thank you for bringing that voice. Now, after explanting, I did not choose to re-implant, but rather opted for a natural lift. I've been documenting my healing process all while using CO2 Lift Pro on my wounds and on my scars, mainly to prevent the scarring from being evident and really to promote healing. What is your reaction to my healing process? Granted, 95% of your incisions are so clean and vanilla and flawless. I've had a pretty seamless 61st days. What do you say to this?
Everybody heals a little bit differently, but basically, incisions on the breast are like incisions anywhere else on the body. We have our own protocol as far as healing times with dissolvable suture, suture glue, tapes, scar creams, and things like that. We're always looking at other devices and treatments, like you mentioned, the CO2. That's something I'm very interested in following your journey with that and possibly using it on some of my patients. So it's a process, and you just have to be patient. And we walk all our patients through and try and get the best possible result we can.
It's all about the science. And when you talk about carboxytherapy, for a fact, it has many, many proprietary uses. And with this specifically non invasive procedure, which I love, it involves the therapeutic use of carbon dioxide for the skin and for skin regeneration. And we are really seeing great results. I mean, I know when I'm using it on my face, or in particular in my case on my wounds, when infused into the skin, CO2, it's scientifically proven, it immediately diffuses at the cutaneous and muscular microcirculatory levels, and this results in higher tissue oxygenation and neoangiogenesis, and the blood vessels widen. It's just science, increasing the transport of oxygen body tissues for regular regeneration and anti-inflammatory effects. So this particularly works well if you are post-surgery, and it's a treatment that's been around since the 1930s essentially, but the method of delivery now has improved with this gel delivery system called CO2 Lift. So I've been a huge advocate. I've seen it cure diabetic ulcers. I've seen it on skin that's hyperpigmentation. I've seen it help with psoriasis and eczema, on lichen sclerosis. So the fact that they have a vaginal and a penile rejuvenation treatment really, really, really sealed the deal for me, because if you can use it down there, you can use it up here. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Now, we'll pivot a little bit. So, what advice do you have for women wanting to explant but fearing the reconstruction step?
I think visiting a board certified plastic surgeon with a lot of experience in explant is number one. You want to look at some before and after pictures and basically visit with your doctor, and he or she can give a good assessment of, based on their experience, your possible outcomes. So, the plan technique, whether it's just an explant or an explant with a lollipop lift or an anchor lift, based on past experiences, you can either say, listen, you're going to do great, your shape's going to be fantastic, here's the scars, or you may be a little bit more challenging. And that can be based on size of the implant, thinness of the tissues. There's just so many factors that come into play, but experience is always key in everything, really.
Well, yes, of course. It all comes down to experience. Now, what advice do you have to women out there thinking that they're crazy and that their symptoms are psychosomatic?
Well, first of all, they're not crazy. It is a real thing. It doesn't happen to every woman with breast implants. And I think that educating women to know that this is a possible cause is very important because it gives them basically peace of mind that their voice is being heard. Myself, my colleagues, American Society of Plastic Surgery definitely take it very seriously and are looking into the causes. So there's a lot of studies that are going on to determine what's happening and how to ultimately fix this.
Well, you're at the forefront and you do what you do for a reason, and you are amazing at what you do. And I can't thank you enough, not only for changing my life and really helping me combat some of the harder symptoms that nobody was able to even give me an explanation for. And so I thank you for that. But more importantly, I thank you for the breast implant illness community out there who's suffering, women who really want to reclaim their lives, and you are at the forefront of that battle. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
The debate regarding the possibility of breast implants causing systemic symptoms has actually been present since the 1960s. It's a theory which stemmed from an author's concept of human adjuvant disease. It refers to human exposure to a foreign object that causes autoimmune or rheumatic diseases. So the theory was gradually introduced to the public during the 1980s, later gaining the attention of the Food and Drug Administration, which in part led to the removal of silicone implants from the market in 1992. And interestingly enough, the US Food and Drug Administration, the major plastic surgery societies, and other health authorities have been devoting more attention to breast implant illness than they have in the past. Now, I think that's thanks to the past October of 2021, where the FDA began requiring breast implant manufacturers to include information about the risk of symptoms that affect the whole body in a boxed warning on breast implant packaging and in a patient decision checklist that is included in patient information booklets. And the FDA refers to symptoms that affect the whole body rather than just a single organ or body part as systemic symptoms. And the FDA said it is restricting the sale and distribution of breast implants only to health providers that review the checklist as part of the informed consent process before surgery, but it's unclear how this is actually being enforced. So you need to make sure that the providers and the surgeons that you are consulting with are actually giving you the full transparent disclosure. That was the Rankin Difference, brought to you by DavidRankinMD.com. You could check them out on the gram at David Rankin MD. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Join Jimmy Jimbo Temple on Cowboys, Trailers, and Ranches and get ready for a crazy ride. From up-and-coming country western performers to ranchers with purpose, Jimmy takes you behind the scenes with a front row seat to all of the action. Cowboys, Trailers, and Ranches is dedicated to celebrating and preserving all things Western. Check them out on yourhometv.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to CO2Lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're featuring Dr. Brian Biesman. He specializes in cosmetic and reconstructive eyelid and facial surgery and minimally invasive rejuvenation techniques, including injectables and technology-based solutions. Dr. Biesman is an internationally recognized authority on non-invasive body contouring techniques such as cool sculpting for the elimination of unwanted fat.
He serves as a clinical assistant professor at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee, Division of Ophthalmology, Dermatology, and Otolaryngology. Today, he joins me to chat latest trends in facial and eyelid surgeries, how carboxytherapy is revolutionizing the skincare industry, and how you can even get a home medical grade skincare treatment without breaking the bank. Welcoming now to the show is our expert of the week, Dr. Brian Biesman. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thanks, Ann. Great to see you.
All right, let's dive right in. So congrats on all of your many accolades and accomplishments. The universe has a very well thought out way of connecting people for full circle. So nice to finally meet you in person, like 20 years in the making.
Right, exactly.
So let's jump right into your incredible field. So can you tell us about the latest trends in facial and eyelid surgeries that you've observed in the field of cosmetic and reconstructive surgery?
Over the years, so my focus really is on aesthetics. I'm going to talk mostly about aesthetic rather than reconstructive, although every reconstructive procedure really is aesthetic. But let's focus on the aesthetic. So there has been a real shift over the last years, which is continuing and I think growing in really preserving one's, if you will, natural look. For many, many years, decades even, it was very clear when someone had had surgery that was supposed to help make you look better or more youthful, but in reality, it made you look different. So now the emphasis is on how do we preserve and how do we restore rather than making people just look like they've had surgery.
I love that. Keeping true to the roots of the human ethos and who that person is from the beginning, not trying to transform their face like many plastic surgeons do. Now, many people are interested, as am I, in non-invasive rejuvenation techniques. Now, what are some popular technology-based solutions that you find effective in achieving these desired results that everybody is looking for?
Great question. So are we going to focus on just eyelids, or let's talk about the face and neck, because that's where people often see changes. So there's a few things that we need to think about, Zen. We need to think about skin quality in terms of color and wrinkling. So we have devices that can help improve skin color, such as brown and red discoloration, really without much in the way of downtime. If we're going to smooth wrinkles, that's going to have anywhere from a couple days to probably a week of downtime. We can do non-invasive skin tightening with devices that have an FDA indication for lifting. If someone says, I want this, they need surgery. If someone says, I just want to look like a little bit better version of myself, or I like the way I look, but I want to look the same in 10 years, then we talk to them about devices that will help enhance things a bit and preserve them moving forward.
And it's extremely important to enhance and preserve rather than to remodel and reconstruct, because then you get into a whole other, Pandora's box. Now, coming back to a trend that was one of the biggest Google trends of 2023 coming into 2024 is carboxytherapy. It has many proprietary uses. And with this non-invasive procedure involving the therapeutic use of carbon dioxide for skin regeneration, we are really seeing some incredible results. And when infused into the skin, CO2 immediately diffuses at the cutaneous and muscular, microcirculatory levels. So there's a science behind it. And of course, this results in higher tissue oxygenation and neoangiogenesis. And of course, when you look at the science, and most millennials look at the science, I see this particular CO2 lift product, the blood, I've used it on myself, and the blood vessels widen. This increases the transport of oxygen body tissues for cellular regeneration and anti-inflammatory effects. And in fact, it's been a treatment that has been around since the 1930s, but now there's a new method of delivery that's improved since then with this gel delivery system called CO2 Lift. We had Dr. Hoyos compare it to a hyperbaric after open flap surgery, and he is the author of Liposculpture. So carboxytherapy, Dr. Biesman, seems to be making these waves in the skincare industry. How does it work in a medical explanation, and what benefits does it offer for individuals looking to enhance their skin?
So Zen, you're quite the scientist. I'm impressed. The basic idea is that most of us know that if our oxygen levels are low, our CO2 levels are high, that our bodies are going to ask for more oxygen. We're going to send more oxygen to that area. So the whole idea behind this CO2 lift concept is to not actually deprive our tissues of oxygen, is to keep our tissue oxygen normal, but to fool our bodies into thinking that, hey, wait a minute, there's too much CO2 here. We got to send more. So you actually are supercharging the area with oxygen. You get increased blood flow, as you suggested. And this actually is incredibly hydrating and really has a lot more benefits than we might have thought a topical product could have. And this is an important distinction. In the past, carboxytherapy is something which has been actually infused into the skin through a needle or through some other more invasive means. We're talking now about something which is applied topically to the skin. It's a gel like a mask. You apply it, you leave it in place for about 45 to 60 minutes. And when you take it away, it's like a big reveal. It's really remarkable. This is how I actually first discovered. I didn't discover it. When I first saw it, it took about 10 seconds to realize that this was something truly remarkable in what it does with totally non-invasive, no risk, no recovery time, and I don't even have an interest in the product. It's just crazy how remarkably well it works.
It's true. And you are a scientist before anything else. Clearly, we can see that. But as the first account to offer CO2 Lift Pro in the Nashville market, what was it that drew you to the product as an early adopter?
So I'll tell you the story. And there's a story here. So the first time that I ever met this product, I'd never heard of it. We do an annual medical conference in Nashville. I'm the co-chair. Last year we had about 1,400 people. We're going into our 19th year this year. So this was in maybe 2016, I think. We're in the process of doing some lab demonstrations, and they said, hey, someone wants to demonstrate this new thing. Do you care? And sure. And they bring this patient in, and I'll be kind and say she did not look great. She was wrinkled and she looked really rough. And they said, we're just going to put this thing on her face. We're going to leave her and this woman literally lay down on the floor for 45 minutes while I did some injections. And then in the remaining couple minutes, they said, here, we're just going to pull this mask off and we want you to take a look. They took the CO2 lift mask off and this woman looked unbelievable. Like there is no way that is the same person when you put that mask on 45 minutes ago. And that's all it took for me to be convinced. At that point, I then became the first account to sell it in Nashville. It wasn't carried here yet. The meeting is in Nashville, and they traveled in to show at this meeting this lift, but I'd never seen it before.
Wow. Well, you are quite the celebrity. I'm in the presence of somebody who discovered a gold mine because
I wished I'd discovered it. I just happened to be the first person. I mean, I saw it at a meeting, and then I said, oh my God. And then I got a bunch of people who were some local folks and some influencers picked it up, and then it started really getting traction. But it was really a cool minute, I have to say.
Well, you were onto something. I mean, look, you are at the forefront of every technological discovery, so it would be logical that you discovered and you were one of the early adopters of this product because CO2 Lift since then has proven to be such a valuable addition to most laser protocols, especially for patients with acneic skin and targeted skincare solutions like carboxytherapy. We know now can enhance overall results, and the product has such a proprietary and unique ability to promote skin rejuvenation and address acne concerns that it really kind of micro blankets all of the not just Caucasian skin issues, but also African American skin issues where you have the micropigmentation and you have the hyperpigmentation and you have a whole bunch of other skincare protocols that need to be in effect for skin of color, and this does address it. And they have this incredible vaginal rejuvenation system that's pretty intriguing. Now, moving on to the intriguing aspect of
perhaps the possibility of getting skincare treatments at home. Can you elaborate on how carboxytherapy can be applied at home and what results people should expect? I mean, you just gave a great endorsement about a woman in front of your eyes transforming, but what is the process at home?
So it's actually a very easy process to use, almost ridiculously so. As I mentioned, it's a gel. You have to mix it up. You apply it. When you apply it, here's probably the hardest thing about it. It's painless, doesn't have any discomfort. It's easy, easy, easy. But here's the hard part. You really have to stay still for a good 45 to 60 minutes if you're going to get the benefit from a treatment. And if you want the benefit on your eyelids, that means you really can't be on your phone. You just got to go to your happy place, close your eyes, relax, and let the product work. When you remove it, it really is neat to see. There's no real messy after effects or anything, and there's certainly no downtime, no discomfort, nothing difficult. But being still is the bigger challenge. Certainly is a challenge for me, but it is important.
Well, you said it. You should be the poster child for CO2 Lift Pro because, to your point, it's the strongest version of carboxy gel. And aside from it being available to aesthetic and medical providers like yourself, to your point, it's an at-home treatment that delivers the CO2 cutaneously over 45 minutes to an hour, and sitting still is on point. I've done this myself. You can't keep moving because it's not going to actually penetrate and deliver what it needs to be delivering if you are, sweating and working it up. But it's a transdermal, non-invasive facial mask essentially, and practitioners like yourself, doctors, the surgeons, experts like yourself, they recommend it for post-procedure care after invasive procedures such as needling or laser or whatnot. But I had breast explant surgery not long ago, about a month ago, and I had it done in Jupiter, Florida with Dr. David Rankin. And I started using CO2 Lift Pro on my wounds, on my open wounds. And boy, have I seen a huge, huge difference. There's no itchiness, there's no dryness, clean incisions. It's coming along nicely. So yes, to your point, this is a great product. Now, let's move on to considering your role as a key opinion leader in medical and surgical aesthetics, which you do so gracefully, as well as a clinical assistant professor at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. How do you incorporate research and teaching to stay at the forefront of such a rapidly evolving field?
This field changes so much, as you just said, Zen. Probably since we've started this interview, something new has come up or some new idea has come across my email or whatever. And so you have to be used to sorting through a lot of information. And like CO2 Lift, sometimes you're really shocked by something, and something will grab your attention, and you'll know immediately this is something really interesting. If it weren't for the research, where I'm always doing projects and I'm doing a lot of consulting, and I'm hearing companies they wanted you to invest, they want you to hear their story, so forth. You see so much and hear so much that you really do get a good sense for what's legit and what's not.
Now, when we talk about advice for individuals considering cosmetic procedures for the first time, it's their first time, they don't know what they're getting themselves involved in. Are there any key considerations or even misconceptions that you'd want to address?
That's a great question and such an important one. No matter what age you are, if you're just thinking about doing this, first do your homework. The traditional way that physicians get recognized for their expertise is by the contributions they make to the field, by doing research, by peer recognition. And it's important, before you let anyone do anything, that you actually feel that that person is on the same page you are, that you trust them, and then let them be your guide. I don't try to tell my attorney how to write a contract or my accountant how to do my taxes. You need to find someone who you feel you can relate to, who listens to you, who understands you, who you trust, because there can be a lot of different ways to do things. What you need is someone who will hear your concerns, listen to what you'd like to accomplish, explain to you how they think you can get there, and then see if what they deliver is what they led you to expect. That seems to be really the best way. And the last thing, you have to be able to commit yourself to being treated by one person over a period of time. If you're going from place A to B to C to D, you'll get a mishmash of everyone's ideas, and usually it does not work well.
You said it. You can't be playing the field with providers. You just can't. Now, you're a recognized authority in aesthetics, and you're in your 19th year of co-directing the Music City Scale meeting, bringing aesthetic providers together for education on a myriad of topics. Could you highlight any exciting developments on the horizon in the field of medical and surgical aesthetic surgery that we can look forward to this coming year?
Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool topics. And there's so many. There's no way that we have time and this format to go into it all. But there are some really cool, exciting things. There is a laser resurfacing treatment. And again, carboxytherapy actually can be used in conjunction with it. But there is a laser resurfacing treatment called ultra clear resurfacing, which has been one of probably the maybe 4 real revolutionary changes in my career over 30 years. This is like finishing the second year of working with this, and like carboxytherapy, we're starting to see more and more applications, but I can treat patients with any skin type. I can treat scarring, I can treat fine wrinkles, I can treat deep wrinkles. It's really a remarkable treatment. We're hearing more and more about that particular device. Again, it's called Ultra Clear. I'm personally really excited because it's just completely changed my resurfacing practice. And there's always new injectable treatments that we're learning. There's a really big emphasis now on being very mindful of how we use soft tissue fillers. And there's a lot of talk about people who have the puffy face and the overdone face, and their face is out of balance and so forth. We put a really big emphasis on teaching people how to safely and effectively produce rejuvenation without making people look puffy and weird. And I spend a lot of time reversing that look, but we really like to emphasize, how do you avoid that in the first place? Those are a couple of highlights that I think are just really important because they help patients. And it's really the high-end providers who really understand how to deliver these services and use them.
At the end of the day, it really truly comes down to choosing the right practitioner, making sure that you're in the hands of somebody that's not just capable, that is an expert at the forefront of research in their field, such as yourself, bringing me full circle to we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting and being so open and transparent. And I love having a conversation with you.
It was awesome, Zed. I really enjoyed it. It's great to speak with you, and I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
That was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. And that was Dr. Brian Biesman, founder of drbiesman.com. You can check him out on the gram at Dr. Biesman. Head to lumisk.com for all your skincare rejuvenation needs, and definitely check out co2lift.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. This is your favorite iHeart radio host, Zen Sams, and I'm here with the incredible Zoltan. Now, talk to me about why Once Upon a Coconut has specifically stood out for you as a celebrity and why you endorse the brand.
Well, number one, it's actually I'm part of the ownership group, you know, and it's about hydration. I'm also a jiu-jitsu fighter. I fight, and you know, this has electrolytes. So it's actually hydration. I like the taste. I'm not a fan of coconut water because there's a weird taste to it.
Yeah.
And this particular coconut water, I'm plugging it, but actually I'm drinking
You're
it. This
drinking it.
Yes, this is
What's
the
your
real
favorite
deal.
flavor?
The pure coconut.
Pure coconut.
Yeah.
Ian Went, tell me why you love Once Upon a Coconut and what attracts you to the brand.
Have you tasted the chocolate one?
Oh, it tastes like Yoo-hoo.
It tastes
I love
like Yoo-hoo, and all of us are gone. We go back to our childhood. John Chiarando is someone who I look up to in a big way. He's an incredible individual with a lot of resources who's willing to give those resources freely without asking for anything in return. He's one of the most kind and generous people I know. And so, you know, I'll go into battle with that guy any day. And I love the company. I mean, are you kidding? I don't normally drink coconut water, but it's actually so good.
We're here with Ben Greenfield. Why do you drink coconut water?
Oh gosh, besides the taste and besides the fact that it's pretty much the best smoothie liquid ever, I would say that it's good for electrolytes, it's good for hydration, it's good for the bowels and the guts. The thing about coconut water is it's actually very close to like the composition of human plasma, meaning it's one of those natural ingredients that you really don't have to add a lot to in order to do the body good. So I think people drink it, they feel good, they like the taste, they understand that rather than drinking soda or something that has added, high fructose corn syrup or something like that, so you can get the natural sweetness of coconut water and all the health benefits. So yeah, I think there's a lot going for coconut water.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Are you looking to build a new home? Think about building a barn-dominium. There's just something about getting away from it all. Country living, fresh air, and outdoor entertainment. Watch luxury barn-dominium tours on Your Home TV and let Stacy Lynn, the barn-dominium lady, take you on a journey through her barn-dominium designs.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. We are at the end of our date. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Remember to check us out on our YouTube channel Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform. And you can head directly to mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll see you next week.